All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into it here. Let's go ahead and pull up that first buck of yours here. And with these, you're traversing several different states here. So the first state here, we have an Ohio buck.
Yeah. So the story on this one is I kind of got a later start hunting. I did hunt when I was legal age. Well, in Michigan at the time, you could take hunter safety when you were 12. I didn't take hunter safety until I was 14. I didn't even really start bow hunting or deer hunting at all until I was like 25. It wasn't that I wasn't into it. I was just doing other things. College, I was into skateboarding and a bunch of weird stuff when I was younger. And I just didn't have the patience or really the money for any of the gear or anything. I was pretty poor growing up. So whatever the reason, I got into hunting later. So this was 2015. So I'd say about 2009 is when I really started giving archery an honest effort. And I started reading John Eberhart books. I think I joined the Beast in 2013. So prior to this buck, I had killed a few deer, a couple does, a couple average bucks, but this was the one that really kind of set it off for me. And it was like, oh, I can do it. And this was an archery hunt. There's no bow there, but and this is the only on the list. It's the only private land deer. So the story is 2015, I tagged out in Michigan. You get 2 buck tags. So I killed 2 archery bucks, just 2-year-olds, like 100-inch deer. But at the time I was thrilled with that. And I had a friend that had been going to Ohio for like 6 years. And he's like, oh, you're tagged out. You should go with me. I got permission on like 400 acres from this farmer. And he's showing me these trail camera pictures and he's got a bunch of nice deer. And I'm like, those are the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. Cause I ran a lot of cameras in Michigan and this would be a crazy thing. Guys in Michigan can relate. So this is 2015. I've been running cameras for sure since 2010, but maybe 2009. I had never had a 125-inch deer on camera. And I was running 6-8 cameras a year on public properties, private properties, dairy farm stuff all over the place. Never had a 125-inch deer. And he's showing me like 5 different deer that are 120 or better. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go. Of course I'll go. And he just wanted someone because he was going to go solo. And I'm not knocking my friend, but he's a very traditional Michigan hunter. So in Ohio, I don't know what the rules are now. I haven't hunted there in several years, but you could bait on private property at the time. So he had corn piles out and trail cameras. And he's like, these are my 3 spots I got set up. Here's onyx, right? You can go anywhere else on the property but that. I was like, awesome. So and the reason I brought this hunt up is the first one, because it was the first nice buck that I personally killed. 2, beast tactics. So I'd been on the beast 2 years, and this is Southern Ohio. It's hill country. I've never hunted hill country. Everywhere I hunt in Michigan's flat. I mean, if you get 30 feet of elevation difference, you're doing good. Well, this area of Ohio, the hills are 100 to 300 feet.
Was this like Southeast Ohio?
Yep. Scioto County.
Okay.
Out of respect for my buddy, I don't want to be any more specific.
No, that's fine. Like, cause I've hunted like Coshocton area and that.
Sure. Yep. Even more south than there.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. So, and it's super hilly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I look at the map and I know like from Dan, and I'd also read Mapping Trophy of Whitetails, Brad Herndon. If you guys haven't read that, that's a great resource. A lot of that stuff's known now, or if you're on the Beast Forum or websites talked about, but you learn about saddles and inside corners and finger ridges and all this stuff. So I picked out a few good spots. Literally the first day we're there, I find where there's a saddle, and on the back side of the saddle, there's a bench. And below the bench, there's this real steep draw. So it's a main funnel where if deer come over the saddle, they got to get on this bench, or if they're traveling east and west, they got to get on this bench. So I'm still pretty green at this point. I set up like right on the bench. I'm talking 5 yards off because that was the only tree I could get in.
Sure.
And about noon that day, this was November 6th, really good buck. Again, biggest buck I've ever seen in my life. Maybe it was a 115 or a 125. I don't know. It was a nice buck to me. Come over the saddle and like right on top of me, saw me move, blew out of there. I was like, oh, this setup's not going to work. So the next day I moved about 100 yards. So this is kind of a Dan tactic, right? Hunt a new spot, but a new spot doesn't mean a whole new property or 2 miles away. A new spot can mean 50 yards or 100 yards. So that day when I got out of there, I followed that bench and it kind of opened up and then went down on a finger ridge. So the next day I come up that finger ridge, sat where the bench kind of opened up. And this is a funny thing. So I like to get out early, and during the rut, I'm a hang and hunt guy. So I get out typically an hour before daylight, so I got time to hike in and hang my stand and everything. Well, my buddy that I'm hunting with, he's already got all his stand set up. We get out kind of late. He rides a four-wheeler and I'm on the back of the four-wheeler. I'm like, this is the least beastly thing I've ever done, right? So he drops me off and it's almost gray light already. So I'm like huffing up this hill to get to where I know I want to sit. So I'm hanging my stand. I climb up in the stand and now I'm roasting. So I've got my coat open, my bow's on the ground. I look up, here's this deer and it's 80 yards away. And my bow's still on the ground. So I'm like panicking, watching the deer, trying to reel up my bow. And I finally get the bow up. And the deer now, I'm not kidding, Scott. By the time I get an arrow knock, the deer's 25 yards away. So I'm looking down my bow rope.
Happening fast.
Yeah, my bow rope is still tied around my limb. And I'm like, I don't have time to undo the rope. So I'm watching as I draw to make sure the rope doesn't get in the can.
It's not gonna hang up.
Yeah. So here I am with my coat undone, bow rope tied on, shoot this deer, absolutely smoke it. It runs off and I'm pretty sure I hear it crash. So my buddy who's been hunting this place for 6 years hasn't shot a buck. This is the second morning. I mean, the sun's not up, but it's legal light. It's, 10 minutes before sunrise. And so I text him. I'm like, hey, big buck down. He's like, you're kidding me. I'm like, no, big buck down. So I wait an hour and go find it and stuff. Helps me drag it out. But the whole point of the story is without the beast, Dan's Hill Country Tactics. So I'd watch that DVD, all the stuff that I learned from the hunting beast. I would have never been in that area where all those terrain features came together. And I don't know, it worked out. Like you couldn't draw it up any better. Textbook hill country hunt. And I don't know, that's a memory I'll have forever. Dan and all the guys on the beast for that one for sure.
Sure. Are you still friends with this buddy of yours today?
Yeah. We went and hunted the same property. So we scouted it the following spring, and then 4 of us went the following year because after I shot this buck, then you got a few more friends all of a sudden. 4 of us went the next year and we all shot bucks. And then
nice.
I don't remember exactly what happened, but the farmer ended up leasing it to an outfitter or something. And that was the last year that I hunted it. So
was this a permission piece that he had or something
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So the guy, he's got a business and one of his sales reps was a farmer, and the farmer in Ohio was the guy that was letting us on. So yeah, permission. Like I said, this is the only private land buck that I've got here.
Was your buddy Jack for you though?
He was. And crazy thing.
Because he went 6 years without one.
Yeah. So he's like, and then all of a sudden people are a believer, right? Because he had all these deer on camera, but they were all at night. All his setups were in the bottoms, which anybody that follows the beast knows you want to be towards the top, the top third, if not closer to the top of the ridge where the winds are more consistent and you're getting more of the buck travel. A lot of the sign is in the bottoms. There were scrapes in the bottoms. There was big rubs in the bottom. But the terrain features and the daylight movement was higher up. So the next night we went and set up on a different, same type of setup where there was a big draw coming up. And we saw like 140, 150 inch 10 point that night, but it was about 80 yards. When the 4 of us went back the next year, one of my other friends killed that buck about 50 yards from where I killed this one. So those spots ended up producing, and it's too bad they lost permission on that place, but it was a really good farm.
Yeah. Southeast Ohio produces some massive bucks. It's pretty incredible. The amount of bucks that I saw that I just couldn't get in the range or I couldn't get on, but I put eyes on while I was there, was pretty incredible for sure. But I just couldn't get over the terrain. I mean, it just was not, I scouted it out, obviously. He scouted everything well ahead of time. And I went down there with a buddy as well. But then when I got there, I'm like, oh, it's super hilly here in southeast Wisconsin. We have the cattle moraines and stuff, and there's some big steep hills and stuff. But they made it look like ant hills.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow. You'd start cresting a ridge. We were helping this guy we ran into who was walking down this gravel road, and he had shot a buck. And so we just kind of met up. we were doing some scouting. It was like one of the first days we were out there. First 9 days, kind of like hunting and scouting at the same time. And I said to him, I said, well, started asking him some questions about the area and that. And he had brought up the fact that he had shot a buck earlier that morning. He was just taking a break, and then he was going to go look for it. And so we offered up our help. We're like, do you want some help? He goes, yeah, I'd absolutely love some help. And so we're tracking blood and that, and you think you're cresting the top of one of these hills, and because if you look at the skyline of that picture right there, you could kind of crest that, and all of a sudden it still keeps going after that. It might flatten out a little bit, but then it goes back up again. I'm like, holy cow, this is now. Being from Wisconsin, like I said, like we don't have hills like that. Obviously, out in Montana and that, you're probably with the elk hunting, it's probably like anthills for you.
Yeah, I'm getting acclimated. Yeah, I dream about the southern Ohio hills sometimes when I'm elk hunting. Like,
yeah, I bet. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love those.
Yeah. Bill chimes in here. EHD has been devastating in Southeast Ohio. Yes, I have absolutely heard that. And Charles also says it does have a lot of big bucks, but this year HD has been devastating, which is really sad to hear. If it's not in your area now, it feels like it's almost inevitable at some point that the area that you hunt or your favorite spot is going to be affected by it.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know how we combat that, but it's unfortunate. In fact, that last year I hunted in Ohio. My buddy and I actually had plans to hunt in Missouri, but they were still recovering from a 2-year prior EHD outbreak that was pretty bad. So they were just starting to recover from it. We're like, yeah, you know what? Let's give that another year or two. Let that, and then of course they get another EHD breakout. That seems to be the case. Once it starts recovering, all of a sudden there's another breakout of it. Right when things start to get back to normal. So.
That's how it's been here. We got it pretty bad in 21, and then it was just getting to be where the numbers and the age structure was coming back decent. And just as a quick anecdote, a friend of mine in one of the areas that I also hunt, we share some information. He was out 2 weeks ago, and in a 2-mile stretch, he found 20 dead deer, 15 bucks. So we got it bad. A lot worse, I think, than our Game and Fish, or DNR is called FWP here, and they quit selling doe tags, but they haven't actually cut any tags that were already sold. But like I said, I think it's a lot worse than a lot of people realize, even the game agencies. So,
it's a real shame. It's terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congrats on that buck. That's pretty cool. Great story. One other thing I was going to mention: how much do you think that 6-year drought that he was having was because of the fact that he was baiting? Do you think? Because I think you said he was getting a lot of nocturnal, a lot of nighttime pictures. I mean, was the baiting driving the deer nocturnal?
I think so, and I think there's setup choices too in the bottom, specifically in that big hill country area. It just swirls, and it's real tough. And then if you're hunting there as the morning kicks off in hill country, as soon as those hillsides get light, the thermals start sucking uphill, and that's usually where the bucks are cruising. Well, if they smell you and they're not coming down, so it's I think it was a combination of oversitting spots and spots that were compromised by the wind.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you hear it so often with baiting that if the bait's out there 24/7, if it's not a time feeder type situation, the bucks know, the deer in general know it's going to be there. Why do I need to come into it during the day? I can wait till nighttime, under the cover of darkness where I feel safe during my normal feeding times anyways. So I don't know. Fuel for thought.